dead. Media proudly presents...
Hey there, cinephiles, Dead Media here, and welcome back to Couch Kernels. Have you ever fallen victim to an April Fool's joke? Maybe something that looked really convincing? An example for me would be the Legend of Zelda movie trailer that IGN released back in 2008. It was extremely believable and had a large chunk of the internet believing it, but that might be because of the production budget they put into it. I actually almost missed the days where big companies did believable stuff for April Fools. Mostly now I just check a list at the end of the day of the best pranks pulled, but nobody still believes any of it. Hell, these days the best April Fool's pranks any company plays are done by Cards Against Humanity, and not even on April Fools, but Black Friday. So I guess nobody really does it well.
Ah, nobody likes a good laugh more than I do. Except perhaps my wife and some of her friends.
Anyway, let's talk about today's criteria. Today we're looking at plot and writing, acting, visuals and effects, dialogue, and soundtrack. In this one, 3 college kids go to a popular ski resort, Mount Holliston, to enjoy a fun weekend skiing or snowboarding and bonding.
You guys say Colorado!
One of the guys is unsure about the girl on the trip as A, she's taking away some guy time with his best friend, and B, she's not as experienced as either him or her boyfriend. Early on in their time at the mountain, the 3 of them scam their way in for much cheaper, not buying lift tickets, but bribing the guy in charge of the lift to let them up. The 3 spend some time on the smaller hill so the girlfriend, Parker, can get used to her board. After a while, though, Lynch gets tired of the small run and decides he wants to go on a bigger run. His friend Dan decides to join him, and they convince Parker to go up too, rather than just wait in the lodge and do some of the stuff she had to do otherwise. So the 3 of them begin to make their way to the lift, but find that the guy they bribed to let them up is shutting down the lift for weather reasons. They desperately want to get in one good run before they go home and convince him to let them do a wicked fast run before the weather moves in. He lets them go up, but has to leave his post to go do some other work, and miscommunicates information about them to the guy taking his place, and the lift gets shut off, while Dan, Lynch, and Parker are still on it, 50 feet in the air. And to make matters worse, it's Sunday and the resort doesn't reopen until Friday. I enjoy the premise here, even if the protocols of these kinds of places would make the actuality of it happening somewhere between implausible and impossible. For me, the plot and writing can have a kernel. So, who's in this and how do they do? Well, we have 3 main players here. Emma Bell gets her start in this one as Parker O'Neill, the new girlfriend trying to make a good impression and hopelessly in love. She also doesn't want to fall too far behind in her studies, though. Kevin Zegers plays Dan Walker, Parker's boyfriend, who is entitled and impatient. It's Dan whose money is used for the bribe, and he never lets anyone forget, let alone the lift guy. Finally, Sean Ashmore plays Joe Lynch, a nerdy chick magnet who comes off as standoffish, mostly because he's upset that Parker is here. All 3 actors turn in solid performances here, and their distress and fear is very believable with one exception. When Dan jumps off the lift, the resulting injury doesn't really seem to distress him enough, in my opinion. And I realize there's shock to dull the pain, but when he looks at the injury, you'd think he'd be a bit more concerned.
I'm still alive, but I'm very badly injured.
That's my only little nitpick, but the performances are good enough that I'm not gonna dock them here. They can have a kernel. A large part of this thing's look is the fact that they did everything with practical effects. No CGI is present. Which means they actually did suspend 3 actors in the air 50 feet off the ground, on the side of a mountain in Utah. Granted, they didn't actually do any of the injuries to the actors, instead using believable makeup and props for it, but that's just smart. Can't imagine the insurance bill if they just went for it.
$5,000? I'm not paying it! What are they gonna do, repossess the kid?
I'll give you a few quick examples of the injuries suffered by the characters. As I mentioned, Dan jumps off the ski lift. You know, where they're 50 feet in the air. Care to guess what happened?
I think my legs might be broken, but I'll try to stand up. Ah! Yes, they are broken.
Parker gets a bad case of frostbite on her face at one point and picks the dead skin off. Lynch slices his hands badly on Cable. Parker loses a glove and then falls asleep with her hand holding the safety rail, peeling the flesh off when she gets her hand free. All of this looks realistic enough to earn them a Kernel for visuals and effects. So, there are a few quotable lines here. Nothing incredible since it's a horror movie, but a few good ones.
Put that in your book.
One line is from one of the guys looking after the lift, trying to get someone to cover for him for a minute. To try and convince them, he tells them, "I've got to piss so bad I can taste it." Gross. Another memorable line is shortly after our core trio gets stuck on the lift. In an attempt to lighten the mood, Lynch tries to tell an off-color joke, which goes, "What did the 14-year-old girl from New Hampshire say to her dad when she lost her virginity?" And Dan replies with the punchline, "Get off me, you're crushing my Marlboros," showing he'd already heard it. The lines end there, however. No others. We don't have enough for a Kernel. Now, the soundtrack isn't an all-timer by any means. Nobody's gonna go out to their nearest record store and pick up the album.
Ha ha, you're old!
I will, however, say it's serviceable. It brings the necessary emotions, you feel frantic when you need to, and root for the characters when their journey is in peril. That's about all I got for it, but the composer did fine, and they can have a Kernel. Now let's tip out our bucket and see what we have. We have 4 Kernels. This movie isn't great, but I enjoy it. I don't remember where I first saw it, but I feel like it was on Netflix at one point. And I probably honestly watched it because I enjoyed the X-Men movies and Shawn Ashmore was in it. Now, let's move on to Name That Frame. We'll start by revealing the answer to a round from my Mac and Me and the Batman videos. That movie was Mission Impossible. My copy is part of the Blu-ray set of the first 5 movies, and I honestly enjoy every entry in the franchise, but find the third one very forgettable. Anyway, let's move on to our next round. If you look at my screen, we have a still for a new movie or TV series. Know what it is? Comment below. We'll be revealing the answer in a few videos, so you have time to think about it. And if you have any comments, questions, or ideas, feel free to leave them down below as well. I try to answer everything. That's it for me, but... Sorry? Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't show you the movie. We were talking about... Frozen. Wait. Oh shit, there's 2 movies with that name, aren't there?